These are the 3 mindset cheat codes I wish I knew a decade ago, and they're gonna actually change how you move into 2026. I'm Nadia, and this is She Builds Again, a space for women ready to rise, rebuild, and rewrite their story through radical self-love. The first thing I want to talk you through in this episode are the 3 beliefs I had in my 20s and early 30s that really held me back. And the first one that I unfortunately feel like so many of us women struggle with is the low self-confidence and the feeling that we are not enough. And so I grew up, and just to share a tiny bit of my backstory, my dad was in and out of the picture, and I was super attached to him. I was also a very highly sensitive kid. And because of those 2 things combined, I felt like there was always this something missing. I felt like there was this void. And because of that, I just struggled with confidence. I didn't really look in the mirror or see anything that was really great. I always could admire other people's beauty and talent and skills, but I didn't really learn to spot those in myself until many years later. And so the periods that my dad was in our lives and active in my life, I would thrive and I would be confident and I would make friends naturally, and I was kind of popular. I was told at one short period of my life, and then he would go and I was like a turtle that would retreat into my shell. And it was just a really hard period. I would just feel so emotionally unstable. I didn't feel like I was enough because I had tried so hard to please him, and it just wouldn't make him stay. And so because of that, I definitely struggled with this feeling of enoughness, this feeling of confidence, this feeling of I'm great, I'm good enough as I am. Another hard learned lesson in my 20s and 30s was that sometimes you actually have to fake it until you make it, at least for the first couple of steps. And so I want you to learn how to do things even if you're scared. I remember when I stepped into entrepreneurship, I was 29, on the cusp of being 29 and 30. And I just knew that I wanted something different for my life. I knew that working as a journalist was really a great job, but I also knew that having 2 weeks vacation just didn't meet my needs for travel and the kind of life that I wanted to live. And so because of that, I made the leap to entrepreneurship. I figured things out. I failed. I built again. I kept going, putting one step in front of the other. And a lot of times I felt like an imposter. I actually won several awards in my business in Bermuda, and it was incredible. I was so excited. I had visualized those things. I had prayed about them. I really desired them. But I also felt like I wasn't good enough. I was comparing myself to other people in my industry. I was comparing myself to where I eventually wanted to get to with my business and have employees and things like that. And because of that, I always felt like this imposter. With time and wisdom, thankfully, you eventually realize that you just have to keep going. You don't always have the confidence and the right mindset or the perfect mindset from day one, but keep taking one step at a time, keep putting one foot in front of the other. And eventually you get to a place where you are thriving and able to build a life that you've always dreamed of. And that brings me to one of the other things that I've definitely learned in my 30s is that confidence is equal to keeping promises to yourself. Really, it's so important if you want to be confident, if you want to be able to have your shoulders back and live with a sense of pride in who you are and gratitude for who you are. You really have to start keeping promises to yourself. It is so easy for us to break promises that we set. So you promise yourself you're going to go to the gym, but it's getting hard and you don't have the time and you're getting busy and there's so many competing priorities with kids and your husband and family and work. But if you don't start keeping those promises that you've made to yourself, especially the ones that you really know are important to you becoming your best self, then eventually you start to lose confidence in yourself. You start to lose trust in yourself. And so start by making those little milestones as small as possible. I actually listened to this awesome Jay Shetty episode the other day on YouTube, and he was saying, make your goals so small, your action items so small that it would be impossible to fail. And so instead of setting this big goal, like I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week for an hour each day, start with 5 minutes 3 times a week, and then actually, by the time you get to the gym, because you've put on your clothes and everything, or maybe you're doing it in your living room, by the time you get into it, you realize, actually, 5 minutes, I actually feel good. I'm going to keep going. A lot of times we don't want to do the thing, but then we feel amazing on the other side of it. So keep those promises to yourself, because that's what starts to make you feel like you're actually gaining momentum and building the life that you desire. The second thing that I want to talk about in this video is how my faith and self-trust allowed me to shift the way that I define success. I'll be honest, God has been radically shifting my mindset over the years. I've been doing so much inner work. I've watched YouTube episodes, I've listened to podcasts, I've enrolled in courses, I've hired coaches. All of these things have started to plant these little seeds in my life. Thankfully, I've gotten to a place where it feels like each little seed has added up to help with my healing. I've gone through a lot of loss in the last 10 years. I lost my dad about 12 or 13 years ago. I've gone through challenges with my marriage. I've gone through just ups and downs in my relationships all around me. And because of that, I've had to really take the time to address what it is in me that needed to be healed and start to make different decisions when it comes to how I communicate my boundaries. I've had to do so much inner work over the last 3 years, I'd say. I've tried to do the inner work before I left and relocated to Southeast Asia, but I definitely would say that in this new environment, it helped me to actually start to practice healthy boundaries for the first time, start to use my voice and tell people what's acceptable and what's not, start to really set standards for how I want to be treated, and also to start to be honest about where I'm feeling in terms of how I'm treating other people in my life, because it goes both ways often. And so that's literally what I've been working on. I am really grateful for the opportunity that I've had to take a step back and really think about what's important to me and really get to know myself in a new season. I feel so excited about my future. I feel so hopeful for what could be possible in the future. And so I am excited to just walk this story and start to see what the next chapter holds. This is going to be my last year in my 30s. It is officially my birthday this week, which is incredible. I am just ready and excited to start to go after all of the dreams that I've set, to start to be super intentional and take action every single day, even if it's a really small step. Just keep moving forward and trust that it's going to compound over time. All of those small little steps you make, whether it's internal with your healing or external with building a life of your dreams, they all add up. Another thing that's been really important in terms of how I define success in my later 30s is starting to understand the big picture, not from a religious point of view, but a definite spiritual point of view and a deep appreciation and love and respect for God. And so, in a nutshell, what I believe to be true is that every single person on this planet has a soul. Whether you're born in Israel, whether you're born in Syria, whether you're born in New York, or whether you're born in Japan. And with that soul, we were all sent to this earth to learn certain lessons. And with looking at the world in this different way, it's really started to put things in perspective for me and help me to really figure out what really matters in this life. Sometimes it's not always the bigger paycheck or the money just for money's sake. It really is about our soul evolution, our spirit's evolution, and becoming a better person. It is really probably of no consequence to God if we drive a Mercedes or if we drive a little electric bike. You know what I mean? I really do feel that the most important thing is how our character is being refined, how we are applying the lessons that we've learned and becoming better, allowing our hearts to become softened instead of hardened with time, allowing ourselves to be generous to people in need, allowing ourselves to even care and have a sense of empathy, because I feel like in this day and age, it's so easy to become desensitized. It's so hard to care about so many different things that we see on our Instagram reel, from what's going on in Palestine to what's going on in Sudan. And it can be really, really overwhelming. But I think the key is to do what you can. Maybe you don't have $1,000,000 to donate, but what can you do with the little time, the little resources that you have, and just be a good steward. And so I am so excited that I have learned a lot of lessons so far in my 30s, and I know I have a lot more to learn because I have not arrived. I am just taking it step by step and trying to become the woman that I desire to be, because she is awesome and I am awesome, and I deserve to step into that version of my life, that version of me who is even more healed, even more at peace, and can hopefully teach all the things that I've learned to other people who are maybe earlier in their journey or who haven't yet learned all the things that I have the hard way. One thing I've realized is that the hard things that we go through are not meant to break us. They are literally there to teach us. But as adults, as humans, we have to make the decision about whether we're going to react or respond to any challenges or hard things that come our way. We have to decide if we're going to let what happened to us keep us stuck in that moment of pain, in that moment of regret, or use whatever hard situation happened to help us to become better. And so the last point that I want to talk about in this birthday video is why our 30s and 40s are actually the perfect time to start over with wisdom and not fear. Women these days are hitting their stride in their 30s and 40s. We've learned the hard lessons, thankfully, and we are challenging the societal norms that no longer work for us. I am seeing so many women who are deciding to be child-free by choice, which is really empowering. That wasn't something that was talked about when I was getting married and having kids. It was just so much external pressure. And I think that having kids and a family is beautiful. It's a blessing. But I realize also that it's a lot of work. And it's a calling. And if it's not for you, then being honest about what you want is so important. In closing, you don't need more time, you need more truth. So I want you to like this video and subscribe for more wisdom drops.